Sid, for the very warm welcome. I appreciate it. And guys, let's give a huge shout out to the Optimizer team for setting up and hosting this event.
Thank you very much.
It's truly amazing to see all the marketers come together and for us to talk about and collaborate on the Search Arb model that we all know and love. Honestly, this is an amazing business model that we think is still growing, and everyone in this room today can definitely all be making money and scaling together. And one of the things why I really want to come and talk is because I believe that the more we collaborate together, the more we share our stories, experiences, and what we do together on Search Arb, we'll all be able to grow as opposed to working against each other. Another reason why I think it's very important to be talking here today is because as marketers, and especially search arbitrage marketers, I'm sure everyone in this room, if you've all bought traffic, we've all run into some of the similar issues together. So things like competitive research, things like campaign launching and scaling, and one of the ones that I want to talk about today, which is extremely relevant in a world where TikTok is taking over the social marketplace, that's creative production and creative optimization. So there's a lot that we can talk about on that topic. I want to say we only have 15, 20 minutes here today, so for some of the vets in the space that are spending tens of thousands a day, you might not get as value, but hopefully for some of the newbies in this room, you can walk away understanding exactly what we can do to all scale our models together. So before, actually 1 second, let me just get the slide.
Just give me 1 second to move the slides.
Perfect. Losid will handle the slide moving for me. So I appreciate that. Can everyone see this?
I'll give you the clicker.
And we'll go full screen.
Yeah, I just need to go to full screen.
Perfect. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of what we consider our creative process and how we're going to optimize our creatives, I want to talk a little bit first about who we are at Trenzy as well as Maxi Media. So Trenzy is a creative production agency that we built specifically to make our ads work on TikTok. And when I say our ads, I want to say that Maxi Media is a performance marketing agency out of Canada. We've been buying in the search arb space for the last 7 years, originally starting on native platforms like Taboola and Outbrain, before eventually moving on to Facebook and graduating to TikTok, where we actually got one of the first 100 ad accounts in Canada. So we were one of the first movers on the platform. That was extremely important for us because we learned a lot, we crashed and burned a lot, and we learned very quickly that all of our creative assets from Facebook were actually not transferable to TikTok at all. So for anyone who's been on TikTok, you guys know static images are not going to work. Our GIFs that we ran on Facebook were not working, and our animated videos were also crashing and burning. So we ran into a brick wall right away, losing a little bit of money. And we learned very quickly that UGC is the way to go. So obviously, if you aren't familiar with the model right now, UGC means user-generated content. And that's the key to making money on TikTok. It's making sure your ads look native to the platform, they feel authentic and true to the user. So what we did is we implemented Trenzy. We went out and we hired a whole bunch of true TikTokers. We brought them in-house. We taught them to study the competitive tools. We taught them to study Maxi Media's data. And all of a sudden, our ads started to turn a bit of a profit. So we doubled down on that. We continued to hire more creators. And as you can see here, we invested $10 million over the course of 3 years of testing and built an entire platform with more than 200 creators, a recruiting team where we are constantly hiring and training new creators on the daily. And I just want to say as well, when we've tested a few other third-party UGC companies, we found that there's so much more that goes into making a good ad than just a creator and a script. So that goes a long way. Like I mentioned, we have our recruiting team, we have a compliance team that George will talk about in a second, the importance of that. And we also found a very big important factor was the creative directors. So we also hired internal creative directors who are working one-on-one with the creators and directly with the media buyers so that they can suggest optimizations based on data and performance. They take that data from the media buyers and they can go back and tell the creators one-on-one what is working, what's not working, with weekly training calls, weekly brainstorming calls, and that goes a long way in creating a community and a true relationship between the entire team. So it's not just the creators making random ads based on what they think is going to work. So on top of all those teams, one of the things that I want to mention as well is our video editing team, which is extremely important because although this was built for TikTok, the video editing team allows us to repurpose all of those ads and use them on other platforms like Facebook and Snapchat. So you can see the team in 2022, we spent $34 million on the TikTok platform alone. This is 100% due to Trenzy and due to the creative process that we've implemented, but also the video editing team allows us to repurpose those ads for another 30 million spend across Facebook and Snapchat. So on top of those teams, I want to go to the next slide where I'm going to say that we mentioned we were one of the first movers on TikTok. That's extremely important because it allowed us to build a great relationship with the platform. So this is my boy George here, and we've obviously known each other for quite a while now. We have amazing support from his entire team. I'm going to shout out Stace and Amanda, even though they're not here, as well as the whole TikTok team. So that relationship has gone a long way, both sides. So just with us educating TikTok on the search arbitrage business model, allowing them to implement a whole bunch of different features for us, and also them supporting us on our business goals. And George, I'll actually pass it to you to talk a little bit about how far of a long way that goes.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Jack. I think I still remember like the first day we started. It was like back in 2020. When you went on TikTok, people are like, search arbitrage. I was trying to talk to my leadership team. We got to get these guys on the platform. We got to work through compliance, work through policies, and it was crazy. I think 2020, no one really knew about it. But when I came to TikTok, my background's in content arbitrage. When I came to TikTok, everyone on my team wanted me to do e-com apps. I'm like, no, this is the place to be. This is where we're going to be able to scale. And I'm glad we were able to work with Jack and his team because they really had the right mindset. On TikTok, sometimes people forget that we're still a startup. It's only been about a few years since we were Musical.ly, and we've come a long way. We're adding new processes, new products, new solutions. But really, you have to have a test and learn mentality. If you looked at the chart in the back or like the chart before, they scaled crazily. Obviously, that's with our help, and we supported them. But one of the things to note is that when we hit month 6 in 2020, that's when a lot of the policies issues came in, right? You probably know it. You can't have money signs. You can't all have all that stuff. And we worked through those headaches. I think the key thing for us is having that partnership and knowing that Jack and his team was open to us giving feedback. And then they had that internal creative team to like go back and iterate right away. I was like in their system, every weekend or throughout the day, approving creatives, doing all these things with them. That's the partnership we had. Like I didn't mind getting nitty gritty or getting my hands dirty to help them scale because I knew they had the ability to do that. And I think with the thing about compliance that really stands out about Maxi Media and Trenzy and Jack and his team is that they knew this was the secret sauce to, in the beginning to scale. And so what they did was they went out to actually hire compliance officers. So these compliance officers that they have on their internal staff, we helped train them, right? So we helped go through different workshops, seminars, and we helped train them to get up to speed. We actually have weekly calls with their compliance team to ensure that all the creatives, everything they're running from the campaign setup, goes out without a hiccup, and that, we're exploring verticals, we're exploring different creatives, and that we're able to scale. As you can see there, the biggest thing here is that in 2021, they had a rejection rate of 23%. Over the past couple of years, we were able to get down to 0.3%. That's actually underneath our benchmark across all industries, which is crazy. The other thing about this too is that some people might not know, but when you get an ad group rejected and it turns back on, let's say you appeal it, that actually could negatively affect your performance, right? In terms of account health and account maintenance, if you're not actioning those rejections or suspensions right away, that affects your account, right? So you should be doing that, and we were able to let them know. We were able to tell them, hey, this is gonna affect your ability to scale. We were able to work with them to mitigate that.
So it's these suggestions that honestly went a really long way for us. It's the support that we haven't been able to get on any other platforms really that we run traffic on. And like George mentioned, so it's not just necessarily that an ad rejection or an account suspension is going to negatively impact your account health. Obviously, every time an ad goes down or an ad account goes down, that ruins your momentum. So that's something that if you're spending and you're trying to scale and that goes down, it's going to take you a couple weeks, maybe even a month before you can get that back up to where it was. But something I want to mention on compliance that I think often goes very, very much overlooked is it's not just the account health that messes up with your that compliance messes up with, but it's also the quality of the click that you're sending. And I say this because people overlook it, and we're able to deliver more margin and a higher profitability with a compliant ad. Obviously, I look around, I see a lot of search arb marketers. I know probably just like all of you, just like me, it's very easy and tempting to be aggressive in our ads. Try to be a little clickbaity, push the boundaries of policy. But one of the things that we've seen at Maxi over the course of a few years is the more true and honest that the ad is, and the more that we are delivering compliant value to the user, the more that helps out our back-end advertiser, giving us an overall higher EPC, a higher payout. So yes, we might be spending a little bit more on a CPC basis, but we're making it up tenfold on the EPCs. So that's something I think people often overlook. But let's move on from compliance and let's talk about just a general overview for a case study of one of our verticals. So this is going to be getting into the basics of what our testing strategies look like. And like Los had said earlier, I think this is very, very important. The more I talk to people in this space, they tend to overcomplicate this a little bit. It's not really a secret sauce, but rather something very simple. So you can see here in this case study, graphic design, this is over the last 3 months that this vertical has been able to spend close to $600,000 on just TikTok alone, with a 4.6% CTR at its best. For anyone who's spent on TikTok, that's a pretty good CTR to have. Obviously an 18-cent CPC, and there's a few things that we did here that again are very simple, but deliver a big impact. So you can see here, we call it our rule of fives. So every time we start a new campaign, a new vertical, we want to test a new angle, we start out with 5 creators. We're going to take those 5 creators and we're going to give them 5 different angles that they brainstorm with the creative directors on. So that's 25 ads right there, right away, that we're going to launch. It's a volume play. Then those angles and those ads, we add in 5 different hooks, 5 different call to actions, and we'll test them out at different time frames in the ad itself. So although this methodology is extremely simple, because of the volume of it, it gives you a much better chance at finding winners. Now, I see a few worried faces in the audience in the sense that, don't worry, it doesn't mean that because we're launching so many ads that we're spending a ton of money. You don't need to have big budgets for this. We start out with very, very small budgets on each one of those ads, and essentially we're looking for where are the winners, what is working, and why is it working. Once we have an understanding of that, it's very easy. We just rinse and repeat. So we can start with $10, $20 on each ad. We try to find out where those winners are, and we're going to continuously optimize and continuously test. And you can see a few key points for the success here. Again, very easy things. It's how are we doing our research? We want to put our best foot forward when we start our ads. We want to test different trends, use different interactive add-ons that we'll talk about in a second. And by rinsing and repeating this process, you're continuously going to be, every ad that you make is going to be better than the last one. And that's, I'll give you some numbers in the sense that Trendsy, when we are launching ads for Maxi Media, we're launching between 500 and 1,000 ads every single day. It doesn't mean that we're continuously spending and scaling each one of those, but we identify the winners, we hone in on them, and we improve them time after time. So you can see here, if you look at the before and after of our creative optimization, it's a pretty big difference, and this is what allowed us to spend $600,000 in 3 months just on TikTok on this vertical.
I'll just add there is in terms of like the key points for success is like, you talk about creative research, testing trends, like TikTok has the platform for you to do that. So if you haven't checked it out before, it's called the TikTok Creative Center. We got basically like an ads library. We have trending music, we have trending hashtags. And that's one of the things that we actually help out with Jack and his team is that we're sending commercial-free music lists all the time to him. And his team, his creative team or creator team is utilizing that top list to iterate on creatives.
Yeah, that's an awesome point because a little tip of the trick of the trade is that audio goes a long way on TikTok, just for you guys. And so one of the reasons why I say that this is a volume play as well is because if you're not familiar with the TikTok platform, you want to know that ad fatigue is very real on this platform. Sorry, George, but it is.
No, this is true. We see that everyone.
That's something that on Facebook, you might have an ad that can run green for a long period of time. On TikTok, it's going to die out a lot faster. So that's one of the reasons why we're consistently launching new creatives time after time. But obviously, that costs money. There's production costs that come along with those new creatives. However, there's a whole slew of extra free ways that you can create a new unique ad ID and repurpose your original ad and essentially relaunch it for free, get a very similar performance, but the algorithm won't recognize it as the same ID, and you're not going to cannibalize your original ad. So that's things like diversifying across ad formats. What I mean by that is essentially changing the length of your ad. If you have a 30-second ad, cut it down to 25, cut it down to 20, and launch all 3 of those versions. You can also stitch together multiple ads into one. That's going to create a completely unique ad as well. Utilizing things like TikTok's interactive add-ons, which George mentioned a little bit. So that's things like stickers. You can see on the one on the left there, we have a countdown timer, there's stickers, there's display cards that we can add on to existing ads. It completely changes them, makes them unique. However, they still perform pretty similar to the original ad. We can also do things like making ads seasonal. So here we have an ad that's for our graphic design degree from the last slide. We essentially took it, added a few interactive add-ons, made it Christmas vibes, and this ad was able to take us through the Christmas season, and it even kept running for a little while after Christmas as well. So that diversification was huge for us. TikTok also has things like the creative filters. This is things like sparkles, sunshine, morning glow, and sometimes we actually even go as far as turning our ads into grayscale, making them black and white. That kind of shocks the user. It's something they're not used to seeing on the platform. It's a unique ad, and it performs amazing. So finally, the last one, very easy as well, different audience segments. The more that you drill down into your audiences and target the right proper users, the more you're going to see longevity in your ads. They're not going to die out as quickly. So that's a whole bunch of ways that we want to talk on ad fatigue. But George, feel free.
Yeah, and it's just like the final point I'll add there is like, I think when you talk about ads, like I think you mentioned like 500,000 ads per day, which is crazy, and I've never seen that before until I met you guys. But the thing is, as Jack mentioned, anything you add to the ad, like whether it's a bubble or sticker or like a word, that in this system in the algorithm, that acts as a net new ad. So I mean, obviously you can go to Trenzy for support, and we'll talk about that later. But it doesn't take a lot to shift your creative or to get net new creatives from your existing ones.
And the key point of all of that is all of these are free examples. So act smart, don't try to spend more money on new ads if you don't have to, and it's going to help you out a lot. So I want to talk a little bit about here as well, our CTA testing. This is another extremely important thing that we found on TikTok. And in our first early days, we launched a lot of ads like that one on the far left there, which essentially had no CTA at all. So no call to action, it was just an engaging ad, kind of a little clickbaity, and it was able to deliver us a high CTR and a low CPC, and everything was great. But because there's no true call to action in the ad, our users were not converting on the back end. So we saw it as a low quality click because the users were not warmed up, they didn't know what to do, and we ultimately were losing money. You can see we had to turn this ad off at $300 spend. Fast forward to the same creator, the same script over here with an explosive CTA. And what I mean by that is a CTA that is detailed, really warming the user up, telling them exactly what to expect on the next page, exactly what they're going to be looking for in the links on the keyword lander. And essentially, we went from a $300 spend on that one ad, and we had to turn it off, to $25,000 on this one ad simply because of the call to action. So I can't stress that enough. The call to action is very, very important to delivering a high quality click for your advertiser on the back end. You're ultimately going to make a lot more money. So I don't know if you want to add anything on the call to action.
No, I think it's all part of the testing, right? And the CTA is super important. We make it easy for you to have different types of CTAs as well. Obviously, this ad doesn't show like the pop-up on the bottom for TikTok, but totally agree with Jack is that you got to have something that differentiates you.
So we'll go on to the next one, and let's take a look at angles for a second. So George mentioned creativity. Obviously, if you guys have ever spent hours and hours scrolling through TikTok, you know that there's anything and everything there and a whole slew of different creative aspects that makes a good ad. Not even a good ad, just good content in general. So one of the things that we made sure that we have to do, and we're continuously testing, our creative directors are continuously coming with new ideas, is our angles. So you can see here, we have a whole bunch of different ones like Get Ready With Me, Talk to Camera, Stitch, A Day in the Life, all the way down to skits in the back, mirroring, answer to comments, green screens. the list can go on. There's an endless amount of angles out there. This is where you don't have to, you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. You just have to think outside the box, study the trends, and test all of these different angles. So what you can see, I'm actually going to give a little case study of what the difference of an angle does to your ad. So you can see that here we're going to be comparing the talk to camera angle, which has actually done overall very, very well for us. This is essentially just where the creator is being extremely authentic, giving a testimonial almost, and just talking to their camera, explaining why they like a certain product or a certain degree or whatever it may be. And that one we were able to spend $3,000 on, 50 cents CPC. It was not bad. However, when we took the exact same script and applied a green screen on it, that ad was able to go to $25,000 at a 15 cent CPC and 6.5% CTR. So it just showcases the true importance of having an arsenal of different angles that don't have to be very specific, but can actually be applied to every single vertical that you guys are working on. So if we go back and we looked at the Get Ready With Me, that can be applied to nursing degrees, it can be applied to different products. It can work with almost any single vertical as long as you are a little creative with it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about TikTok, the beauty about TikTok is that there's intersectionality about everything. Just because you're in gaming doesn't mean you can't be into fashion as well, right? We see that with Search Arb as well. And so one of the things that we do with Jack's team constantly, like every week, is basically if he has dialogues or if he has anything that he wants to go through with us, we help him vet it, we help them script, and we have those meetings. Basically, I think we have like 2 or 3 meetings with different teams every week. Which
is something that we can't really say about any other traffic source. But so the takeaway from this really is just that there is no one size fits all. Like Losid said at the beginning, there's no secret sauce. There's no, special one way of doing things that essentially if you do this, it's going to work. What you can see in this optimization process is we're constantly testing, constantly optimizing, and constantly trying to improve what we were doing before. So we can talk for days about a lot of the different media strategies that are out there, a lot of the different scaling strategies, and there's clearly a whole bunch of different angles and creative elements that we can incorporate into our flow. But at the end of the day, the only thing that you really need to take away is that keep testing, keep pushing. Eventually, if the first 10 ads don't work, if you are optimizing and trying to build better ads each time, eventually you're going to find one that's going to be able to spend $25,000. So that would be my biggest takeaway of this, is that there's no one size fits all. Keep trying different things, keep thinking outside the box, and ultimately work off of the data. Your data is not going to lie to you. Whatever is working, your data is going to tell you, and that's what you hone in on. So that's really the main takeaway. I don't know if George, you want to add one more thing.
And going back to the data pieces, it's like I remember when you guys first started, you brought some stuff over from other platforms, and we're like, no, this is the best practice. You got to do this. And then over time, we figured out, yeah, George wasn't lying, or his team wasn't lying. But I think for us, that the real reason why I feel like you guys were so successful on the platform is that you really came onto the platform wholeheartedly, right? You worked with us holistically, and we understand your business model not only on our platform but other platforms. The cool thing about Maxi Media is that when we saw their ability to do creatives so quickly and their ability to manage creators, we actually recommended that, hey, I think you should go into that creative business, right? We recommended that you build Trenzy. And we've been able to help support you to make Trenzy a TikTok creative partner, right? You're an official marketing partner of TikTok. I don't think a lot of people can actually say that. Because that for me was like, okay, Jack's bought in, he wants to play this game, and we're gonna help you play the game, right? And there's a lot of opportunity for TikTok. I have some of my colleagues in the audience here. I think you work with some of them. So yeah, reach out to them. If you're based in North America or around that region, feel free to come talk to me. But I think, yeah, Jack and his crew is also here. There's Castro and Andre.
You can see him in the back with his arm up. So we'll be around in the back of the room at the networking events for us to talk afterwards. For anyone who wants to come up, we can definitely get into a lot more detail. We can go into different creative strategies, different media buying strategies. We've seen it. We've done a lot of it. And honestly, we're excited to potentially work with all of you guys and see how we can scale together.
Yeah, and one more thing, I'll be remiss to actually acknowledge the search feed partners as well. So all the search feed partners in the audience, shout out to you guys because we work really closely with you guys as well on compliance, on what works well, what doesn't work well. So shout out to you guys. And thank you again to the Optimizer, Lasid, and the team for giving us this opportunity to speak. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Really great, man. Thank you.